All right, guys. So that was a good introduction, and we have audience from various regions, time zone with different experience levels, right? So let's come up with some, a basic track so that we all are in a same progress while we go through this curriculum. So this is something which is a very generic question, like why automation, and or you can also rephrase it. What is the challenge that you face in your traditional networking that you would like to automate now?
So we had to configure box by box, so that takes a lot of time, and there was no templating, right? So at that, I mean, till the DNA center was in picture, right? So that's
Okay.
manual work, and handling large number of devices is very, I mean, time consuming. So that is the reason I want to go to automation.
Okay. What else?
Yeah, in my own experience, I have a task I do nearly every day that I have to get the output. I put the output on Excel, on Excel workbook. So my expectation from Python is Python should be able to automation should be able to solve that and make it a lot faster for me by
Okay.
fetching those things and put it into on Excel.
Okay. Okay. What else? Have you guys heard about taking backups manually, or you guys doing it automatic?
No, we
Yeah,
had some
manually.
appliance for that.
A lot of manual backup.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah,
Have
in every implementation, we used to take manual backups every time.
okay.
So
Okay. So have
Yeah,
you guys?
we do run Rancid, but I think this is also going to help us just in case.
Okay. Have you guys have heard about audit report or compliance report?
Mm.
Okay. So usually what happens is we get a requirement to create some audit report. So usually they ask us to give us the current iOS version on them, or the current utilization going across on them, or current RAM or the CPU utilization happening over there, or current counters on the interface, right? So this kind of things are a report based. So they ask you to prepare a report, right? So this is also sometimes in some enterprise, they make use of manual efforts to do a manual copy paste and create the reports. Okay, what else you think that you normally do in a
Image
traditional network?
upgrades,
Which one?
that's image upgrades that are manual right now.
Yes, image upgrade. So image upgrade is also a very lengthy process. You start with copying of file to the directory of the device. You go to the config and set the boot variables. You configure the config register there. You make write mem. You also have the steps like taking pre-checks, then go with the reload process, then take the post check, then do the diff check, right? So using automation, we try to make this as a workflow so that the Python script take care of each one of them step by step. What else?
I see some of the scripts also prepare the network topology based on OSPF and BGP and neighbors, right? So
Yes, it's neighbor diagrams topology, what we call. So there are certain libraries now which can create the network diagrams, okay, depending upon the CDP outputs. It can create and it can show a virtualization. It can show you a visual flow of a diagram, like how the devices are connected or who is the neighbor to them. What else?
That would, in a way, help in network troubleshooting.
Yes. So this will help in network troubleshooting, as well as you can have a dedicated scripts for network troubleshooting. Like you can prepare a script to have a ping or trace route, or if you're making a basic checks on the BGP neighbor, OSPF neighbors, so you can have the scripts ready. So when you just input the number of device, it just go and check what BGP it is running right now. If there is any BGP that's down, all the information you can pull it up from the troubleshooting perspective.
Then one more thing. What about for implementation? I'm looking at whether automation can assist in writing implementation scripts. Yeah, implementation script. Yeah, carrying out a lot of implementation simultaneously on a multiple device.
Yes, you can do implementation. Like I think we aware about this. Put this manual config is one of the problem. So there is where you try to automate and get the solution via automation tools. Okay.
Okay.
So these are all the legacy networking and some of the very day-to-day network issues that we see. Apart from this, if you check for different vendors or different technologies like firewalls, you can also do all the cert uploads or policy uploads or fetching of the reports. Okay, or if you have a vendors like F5 LTM, you can create the web pool nodes. So all the things that you can do it via or the automation, and these are also some of the traditional challenges where the engineer has to do manual uploads or manual configuration. Okay.
So in case of firewalls, even that panorama that does the orchestration, it can also be automated, right?
Yes, panorama also can be automated. Apart from the single appliance, the panorama can also be automated, which is operating the rest of firewall appliances within it.
Okay.
Okay, so these are some of the challenges that we face and why automation is needed. Okay, so if I ask you what are different ways to automate, I mean, what are different tools that you heard about it? So let's say Python is one of them, of course. What about REST?
Ansible is there, REST API is there.
Ansible is there, REST API is there. So there are many more tools nowadays. Java used to be one of them previously, but due to its complexity and the way this is used, we don't use Java for writing program. Yeah, there are people who still have the network libraries written over on Java, but this is something which needs more knowledge over on the Java. Learning Python is easy rather than learning Java. So that is the shift where in the networking people are moving towards Python for developing library and script. Okay. There is also a new program nowadays which is called Golang. So Golang is also one of the programming language that can be used over here. Rest are some tools like Terraform, which needs Ansible. Okay. So these are something which is for you to discover in the future, because we are not covering these three at least for right now. We are covering this three for now. Okay. But I just gave you some option that this is not the end. The first three are not the end. There can be many more tools. There are something called as Chef. I don't know if you heard about it. There is something
Yeah,
called
Chef Puppet.
Chef Puppet. These are also the tools. Okay. So we are considering this because of its popularity, and majority, at least 80% of enterprise, 80 to 85% of enterprise are making one of this method. Okay. This is very less. I can say might be 2 to 3% now. This is also in its early stage, 2 to 3%. Terraform people, there are who are using it, let's say 5 to 8% who is using it. But this is something which is highly used, Python, Ansible, and REST API. Okay.
So Sagar, just one question. See, after gaining years of experience, so do you think we work as most on troubleshooting and deployment and as a knock and all, right? So moving to automation, does DevOps team is going to take up completely the networking part, or how is it going to be in future? That is what I was thinking.
No, DevOps will not take the care of writing script. DevOps is just to prepare or set up the workflow. Their task is just to put the infrastructure. Okay, they themselves may not be having hands-on experience creating the scripts.
Okay, that needs network commands to
network commands, knowledge on networking, plus knowledge on Ansible, Python. They might be good on a different technologies like the CI/CD operations or the Git operations. Okay, they will provide only the infra setup.
Okay. So that is not a threat to senior network engineers, right? So
no, it is not a threat, but yes, there is a huge requirement or demand from DevOps as well. So in future, if you're looking for career in DevOps, you should also consider this DevOps certification. Okay, so network automation with DevOps is a good platform. Who knows in and out of workflow, who can set up the infrastructure, plus who can write the scripting.
Set up infrastructure in the sense like deployment, you mean? I didn't got that part.
Yes. Say for example, a customer is sending a ticket with his all requirement. This ticket has to be automated process. It should go via necessary approval, or it should go to the right team. The team will check the flow. Okay. And from there might be one of its component is going to a, let's say, NetSec team for the inspection basis. Might be this is going to some other team. Okay, because there can be a requirement for front end, back end, database, etc., etc. So the things gets segregated among different teams. So those people will make a change and start uploading on the GitHub. Those people will do some changes. Okay, so each change will then go under the process of testing. They will have their own test mechanisms. Okay, so basically customer will also be receiving some sort of notification about what progress is going on. So this is all a workflow.
Okay.
So there are some softwares like Jenkins, which are used for such bases. So basically, these people are expertised in this Jenkins, the OpenStack. So whenever a script is pushed, the complete process, like it goes on to approval, it goes on to build version. So there will be visibility like who pushed that change, who approved it, who did the development, right? So, but there will be a lot of people behind each block here. Might be management, technical, programmers, customer on one side. So it's complete workflow.
Okay. So does Devnet core covers it, or like Devnet Auto covers this part? Like
No, there is a separate track actually. So if
okay,
you know, there is a Devnet CCNA and there is a Devnet CCNP. So under CCNP, there is a mandatory paper which is called Dev Core. And there is
okay,
also something called concentration paper. So within concentration paper, there is a dedicated DevOps paper too.
okay,
So that will give more on this topic.
okay. And this, I mean, like the automation, what we learn, is it applicable for cloud infra as well, or just enterprise part?
Yes, it will be helpful for cloud as well.
Okay, because I heard that Terraform is morely used. Terraform or other tools are used in cloud. So
Yes, Terraform is used, but this whatever you learn via Python and Ansible and API, you will also be replicating it on the cloud and the other vendors.
okay, okay. Thank you.
All right. Let's say, okay,
So I
I'll
have a
just keep,
question. Sorry.
yeah.
So
Just
can you give one example for each, like Puppet, Chef, and Terraform? So like Python and all, yeah, you have given that. So we have some commands we take, or we log, or we do trace, or whatever we perform in report generation log. So what is the use of, like, so is it the same kind? It's just a language difference, or is there any application specific use of those
Yeah,
automation?
see, this is about integration. So this is more widely used in cloud and the virtual concept. So let's say that you need to create multiple VMs, okay, or you need to create multiple servers on the cloud. So you have a different concept in AWS and different products, services in AWS cloud. So there is where this is used, okay, in conjunction with the Ansible too. So it has its own purpose, and we rarely see Terraform in the enterprise network. In cloud, it has more benefits of using in the cloud or virtual. But we also have the support via Ansible. If someone is deployed Ansible, so they have the support to create multiple VMs, servers.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. So
Okay.
it's
So
more of
now,
cloud specific than, yeah, we log into a manual box and, yeah, get that data.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So how do we start automating? Okay. So let's say we all most of the time work as a remote engineers. So let's say the devices that we interact is on a different regions. So usually what happens, we take the access of those devices. Let's say I might connect via VPN connectivity, like Cisco, AnyConnect or Palo Alto's Global Protect, whatever it is. We make a VPN connectivity. Now we are within this network, and then we take the SSH connectivity of the devices. So I say SSH 1.1.1. I have the access to that. And as usual, whatever commands I need to run, I execute, fetch, and my job is done. So this is one of the method. In the second method, in the second type of method, there is no concept of VPN. Instead, the remote user connect to the RDP, or I can say MSDC, or I can say terminal server, or Bastion server, or jump host. So he connects to a server which is located in the customer premise, and from that server he initiated connections. Okay, so this is one and this is second connection. Now now this remote engineer might have the access to install the things like whatever tools he need, Python or the library or Ansible installed directly on this server, or he may not have it. Okay, so depending upon, let's say he has it, he can install on that server and he can just take the connection. Now these could be the first connections itself. So he has connected first himself via the terminal server or bash server, and then he has connected to the remote side. Now in the third method is when the customer has not let him have the access of installation. Okay, he don't have. This is a read-only server now. So in that case, he has to put down all the applications on his machine. And he will initiate a first connection via scripting, and the script should take the second connection. So which method do you guys follow? The first, second, or third?
Third one.
Okay.
First one.
Okay. What about others?
That's it. First one.
Okay. So you connect to VPN and then you take a SSH, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So that was the part. That was about how you take the connection. Now let's talk about what are different ways you take a access of a device. Or how do you communicate with the network device? What are different protocols that we use? One, yes.
SSH,
Yes.
HTTPS.
Okay.
In Telnet, no one uses because like for security standpoint.
Okay. What else? What else? Okay, so these are some, methods to talk to the device. So if you are working on a device which is a access or a distribution layer, usually you go with SSH, okay, SSH or SNMP or the file transfer protocols. If you're working with a core layer devices or a next-gen firewalls or the software-defined networking devices, then HTTP is something which you heavily used along with SSH. So these are some different methods. but we will consider SSH because it's a more secure method, and HTTP that we will use it. Rest of them, like especially the Telnet and SNMP, we will not use them for configuring purpose. SNMP, we can still use it for the discovery process. Okay. In what scenario? Let's say I need to find the live IPs. I have a network, but I do not know in this network how many devices are live. So what I can do is I can just do a SNMP polling, and I can find out what are the devices, and I can fetch the device type or the IP address of those devices. Okay. So for very minimum requirement, we can use it. Whereas file transfer, most of the libraries will support the SCP inbuilt, which is a TCP based. Okay, the secure based. But we can use the rest of the things. There are third-party modules for that, but SCP is inbuilt to a lot of libraries. So we will automate via SSH and HTTP. So this is the two protocols that we majorly use. So any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So we start with basic Python. And I'll also tell you a bit on the welcome kit mail. Basically, what did you receive on the welcome kit mail? How do you access the lab, and how do you watch the recording? So these things I will discuss. So let me first start with the Python theory. Okay. So what do I need is, I need Python software, which I can get from the official website of it. I need a tool where I can start writing them. Now this I can get from various vendors. So we have PyCharm and Microsoft Visual Studio majorly used. But apart from this, there are hundreds of other tools as well. Okay. You can also use Sublime or Notepad++, but they are not as intelligent as the professional tools. And then we need the libraries. Okay. And then we need the real device or the virtual devices. So these are something which we need it. Minimum to minimum requirement that we need to start automating or test automating or practice automating. Okay. So for now, what we need is, we need just this two, Python and IDE. It is called the Integrated Development Environment. So let's say okay. So let me just show you basically where we download this from. So if you're trying to make your own home lab setup, you can use this. See, this is where you download Python from. There are various version code that's available depending upon the operating system. You need to download, you need to install this. Second, you need is this software. So you need to start with the community tool. Don't go with this because this after a week starts asking for license or purchase, whereas you can go with the community version. And if you have the Microsoft Visual Studio license, then you can go with that too. Okay, so these are something which are heavily used. Apart from that, Atom, Eclipse, Sublime, Notepad, these are also some of the tools that can be used to write the program.
So, Sagar, I am using ideally. Does it work? I mean, like.
Yeah, it will work, but it's not having the concept of auto pop-up and auto suggestions and auto error detection.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Sagar, I believe in past I used Sandbox. Can we use Sandbox?
Cisco Devnet Sandbox?
Yes.
Yes, you can use it, but you still need this on your devices. I mean, your machine, you still need the Python and the PyCharm tool.
Okay.
Because in the Sandbox, you will get the device IP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you will get the device IP, but to automate, you need the platform where you can need to write the program.
So even Jupyter Notebook doesn't, I mean, like
Jupyter, you can use it, but the installation, I mean, when you write more number of lines, so you need a tool where you can easily prepare the scripts and run it.
Okay, when I did the Python course like 2-3 years back, I was suggested only ideally and Jupyter, but PyCharm was there. I was not used to it, so
yeah. Jupyter is good while you're in a learning phase, like x equals to 100, y equals to 200, while you add. So for that purpose, it's okay. But when you start writing, you need a interface like this, where you can start next to next, next to next, and no distractions over there.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
All right, so you have step number 1, Python. Step number 2, the ID. Step number 3 would be the libraries. And step number 4 would be the device. So step number 3, you have to get it from here. So when you go to settings of those tool, you search for the package. See, for example, these are the installed package right now. So if I have to search for something, then I click on that plus symbol. And these are some of the library that is available in the Python marketplace or Python community. So if you search for, let's say, one of the library like NetMiko, so you have the recommendation. You search for Nornia. So you will have the recommendations. Let's say you are working with something like NEPAM. So you will have the NEPAM module. So here is where you have to install the library, which is step number 3. Step number 4, you can have the real device, you can have the lab environment, you can have the EXI or the virtual device, you can have the sandbox device as well. So if you have a sandbox access, you can get the IP and you can keep it like, for example, like here, and you can run the script. Okay, so you will still need Python, the tool, library. And the fourth step, you can use either way. If you have a real customer network IP, then you can use it to fetch or something. Definitely not configuration, but fetching if you want to try or taking backup, then you can use this IP. So the matters this IP. It can be customer, sandbox, our own lab environment, or your home. If you're having a real device in deployed, then you can use it then. Okay. Only make sure that there is a communication happen between this platform. That is why I set up those three methods. If you don't have the basic communication, then there is very less chances of automating. There needs to be a way your computer is talking with the remote side, with the end devices.
Sagar, have you, I used Replit once, it was last year. Is that, how does that work?
Which one? Come again?
Replit, Replit. Replit is also IDE.
Okay.
And that was what we were instructed to use. And it is completely built in, everything, libraries and everything is in Replit. And yeah, so, and I'm not sure if, we can use any, right? Or
yes, you can use any. There is no such limitation to one or two. Okay. So whichever, the user feel whichever is good, it's their choice.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Sagar,
go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So for non-near, does the PC needs more memory or something? Because
No. It will not need more memory. Basically, it will depend like how many parallel connections you need, and on basis of that, it depends your server utilization.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what because it's more like intensive, right? So that's what I wanted to check. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So anyone who can try to decode like one or two things here, what is happening? Let's say what is line number 11? Just try to understand what it is. Just read it out. What is it?
I think it is the diff123 is a variable that is comparing the configuration between the whatever is existing and whatever is replaced kind of thing, right? So
no, I'm just asking what this is. I'm not asking to explain what it is doing. What it is.
If
it's doing length of
else block. Yeah.
Yes. If it's a condition, right? If it is, if is a conditions. Okay. Let's say if you see something like this, what it is?
Variable.
Yes, it is a variable. Let's say if it is this.
That is equal to.
Okay.
That is the comparison operator, I think. Right?
Yeah, it's assignment operator.
Yes, assignment. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what is this?
That's a function. Print is a function.
Okay.
It's a print function. It's a print function.
Okay. All right. See, basically, when you write a script, this is something which you would see, like using if statements, input, making use of functions to call the behavior. Okay. So let's have like bit on theory, because there might be people who have not gone through the Python theory before. So I'll just start with scratch. These are something which we would use, like print, comments, variables, data types, conditions, for loop, or I can say as a loops. Okay. Then pip, pip manager, regex. Okay, so let's say functions. So these are few things which is heavily used. So let me open one new blank file. So I'll say new. I'll call it as Python exercise. So it's, let's say, 19 November. Okay. So let's assume that once I start writing the script, I would like to take the output of show IP int brief from the device. Okay. So I'm sending the command. The command will go from my laptop to the device, and the device will send back the response. So that response will be stored in XYZ, and I will call that XYZ. So whatever output I fetch it from the device, that would be shown up in the output terminal. So this is called output terminal. Whatever you see here, it's called output terminal. Right now, it is just showing you this because we are not making any SSH or HTTP to the box. We are just assuming that I will send a command to the device. So let's say this is my laptop, and I need to trigger the command to the Cisco device or whatever over on SSH. So I'll take that command, which is over on the read channel, and then I'll fetch back the response, which, this would be in a write channel, and this is a read channel. So whatever I read, it should reflect in the output terminal over here. Okay. You can also push it up by adding in the print block itself. So let's say the purpose is just to take one single output. So instead of assigning it to something and then running the print statement, you can also send it via something like this. Okay. So this method also works. Or you can also assign it to some variable and then use it in the print. So basically, print is a function where you're making your computer talk. So this is what it, in a network side, it would show you what is to be printed or what that particular variable is storing the data or content inside them. Okay, the major portion. Say, for example, if you see one of the script, I've used multiple print statement. So on the line 18, the usage of print is to show me what are the diff in the sense it will check something what I pushed with the real config on the device and give me what is present and what is to be deleted. Okay, so for that, I put a print. Then we put some print. So this is just for user knowledge that we are performing the change. The config is successfully configured. The config was declined by the user. So print can be used for multiple reasons. It can act as while you need the labels or banners to be printed. Sometimes it is printing the output to show us like what is happening in the backend or what are the lines that needs to be added or what are the lines that needs to be removed. So it is basically a output here in Python, which will show you exactly what is going across in the backend. Okay, to apply comments, as the name say, it's just a message. Let's say I write some lengthy script. Okay. And in meanwhile, I have to, just put the appropriate titles or headings like SSH established, or let's say diff check result showcased, or let's say user to input yes or no. So these are some special messages which will help another developer to understand what is this basically going to do. So if you can title them in a better way, so someone who is trying to like expand this or remove some lines, he can at least make that changes, okay, because he is having a proper indication like this block is for this is for this is for this. Okay, it will help another engineer. It will help you in case you come back after a few days or few months and you are trying to uh, complete this up. So you need some indication. So these comments will use as a message. Also, let's say for some reason, I'm writing a script and I see that these 3 lines are not required for me. But at the same time, I don't want to remove, because while I will come up with something else, I might need this and I may not remember this, what I put the condition that time, or I have to once again spend time on writing. So I can put them I can put them temporary in a comment section as well. So the good part is comments don't get triggered. Okay, they don't get triggered while you execute them. So that is the purpose of having a comment block. You can just gray them out. Let's say now the script is working as per expectation. You want this block to be reverted back. You can go to code and you can untick them. So they are back to life. So now they are back. Okay, so that is what is comment doing. When you comment it with the uh, hash symbol, it basically will get ignored or will not be getting triggered by the script. Also, it will act as a message, and these are line by line significance. So it's not like some other languages that you put a one hash symbol here and you put the second hash symbol over here, and automatically it is gonna put all the lines on a grade system. No, that way it don't work. In Python, it's all line by line significance. Okay, so whatever you have in a line, you can do it. Or let's say this is a active line and you wanted to put the comment at the end of it. So you can do that. You can put a comment over here as well. So only this part is grayed out, not the first part. Okay. Variables. Now this is very important and it's something which is used always. So if I say x equals to automation, so the left hand side is called as a variable and the right hand side is called as the data. So the data automation piece of information is stored in the variable called x. Okay, so the data is stored here. Now x could be anything. X can be automation, x can be numbers. Let's say in network automation, I am storing x, or let's say I'm storing username as admin, password as Cisco. I'm storing port number as 22. Correct. So this is where the usage of variable happens. If you see here, there are lot of places where I would have used this. See, there is this, there is this over here. See, this is one more script where we are using this. Okay. So what is variable now? What do you understand by variable?
Stores the information, I mean data, right?
Yes, it will store the information or data and also use to transmit the data between source and destination. Okay, so the data is carried from one point to other, between your device to the end device and end device back to this. So that is the usage of data. It's a temporary memory. If you reuse username here with some other data kept inside this, something like this. Now, the variable here, if you take the print of that, you will see this data, which is next to it or which is very close to it. If you take a print and keep it here, now this username will start taking up this. Okay, so it's a temporary memory. The data has replaced the previous one. And remember, in Python languages, we go in a top to bottom order. So this, see, from line 1 to line 10, like your ACL concept. You start with first ACL line, then you go one below one, one below one. So what happens? The line 5 comes first. So this is what gets printed. And as soon as it start going below the from top to bottom, now the username is having a updated data, and the print which is closer to this will take that data output. Okay, so that is about variable and where do we see the variable. Now next comes is let's say open or open functions. Now, as the name suggests, this might be used to open a file, open a text file, or open the Excel file for any sort of files that you want to open it. Okay. Sometimes it would be just reading purpose as well, not create, just a reading purpose. So basically, open is something where you can integrate the complete path, your system path. Okay, now that's nothing but the location of that particular file or Excel, whatever you want to read or create, or wherever you want to create. Let's say you want to create a file in the FTP, you want to put something on the SCP, you want to put something in the C drive, you want to create a file in the D drive. So you have to define the path within the open function. Open function will have something called open operations. Using that, the open function gets to know whether it is a request to create or to read. Okay. So you need to define here, is it the reading purpose? It's a appending purpose. It's a creating a new file purpose, what it is. So this is where it gets its required information using the operations.
Sorry, can open function work on Excel too? Just like the way it works for text files.
No, it will work for Excel also. But
Oh,
Excel will need to have third-party libraries.
okay.
Though it can create, while we create the Excel, we will use the open method. But to print whatever data we have in the variable on those Excel, we need a different libraries. There are different libraries to handle them.
Okay.
Okay, whereas Notepad don't need any external libraries. We can just use open method and we can just define what I want to print it. Okay, so let me see if I can show you the open functionality. Okay, let me write it here. Let's say I want to create some empty notepad. This is the syntax open. Where do I need to create? Depends on the user. Let's assume I go to my directory. I say somewhere over here if I want to create them. Okay. So I need to take the complete path out of it. I keep it within this. Now, sometimes what happens is the path will start overlapping with Python's function. Say, for example, if your path had a lower case c, okay? So see, this is still okay. Let me give you some more example. Let's say you had something over here like north, right? Because it depends on what folder you created. Let's say I have a folder called north. Might be you kept your customers segregated in terms of south, north, east, west, etc. Now, this is where you want the file to be created, the backup to be created. So you go and keep the path here. See, this is where the problem start creating. Now, this is a path for you. But for Python, this is to take to the new line. So the functionality starts overlapping and this will start giving you problem. Now it will treat this as one entity and this will as a second entity because of Python's /n behavior. So to bypass that behavior, to treat this as the path only, I can make use of R. R stands for raw. Raw in the sense, whatever I have defined, just take it as it is. Don't try to overlap with Python's functions. I can put R over here. Or there is an alternative method of keeping / in front of them, like this. So basically what happens, it says that ignore the next character. So here you see that as soon as I put that, it says that ignore the next character. Don't treat it as the Python's functionality. So you can go with this method, or if adding / makes you a problem, then you go with R. A single R will do the job. Okay. So this is my folder. And in this folder, let's say I want to create backup. So I say backup for what? 1.1.1. Okay. Do you need a text format? Do you need a log format? Do you need to have a CFG format? These are all readable via Notepad. But if you go with Excel X, or let's say Excel SX, this might create the file, but you may not operate it. You may not put the content until you have the necessary library out of it. You can see the file getting generated because the operating system, as soon as see that I can create here as well. I can just create one file of this sort. Okay. But to put the data within that, to read the data, we need to have an external library. So creation can be used using open method, but then to operate them, we need add-ons. So let's say for now, I put text. So this is where I say I have something, right? But how is open function gonna understand? Is it a request to read or create? Because if I hit the run button, it is going to give me error. It will say me that there is no such file. So what does it prove? If you don't give any function, any operations, open by default is trying to consider it as a reading purpose. So there is an invisible R here. Okay, R in the sense read only. It is not gonna create it. It is only gonna read the file. If the file is present here with the same name, then it's going to read the content for us. But in this case, it's not about reading. It is about creating. So to create it, I can go with W or I can go with A. So W stands for create, write, create, and if there is a file previously, overlap it or overwrite it. Whereas A will do the same behavior, write, create, but it will append to the previous data. If there is already a file, then it will append. Append in the sense, add the updated data at the end of the existing file. Okay. So now if I run this with the help of A, you don't see the error. If you see the exit code 0 is a successful result. It's a green signal. Okay. You go to the folder. See, there is a file now called backup123 with an empty content. So let's say you want to put the content inside them. So you can say copy content, create, use this file or use this variable, which is nothing but the file which you created. And you just say whatever you want to write within that. You can say this is automation class. Okay. And you close this file. When you open something, when you open a file, you try to close those files. So this 3 lines, what it will do is it will create a file at whatever location I want to. I have mentioned it as A. That means create, write, and append. This is the data I want to paste it on the notepad. And then once the job is done, I want to close it. So if you execute it now, it will give you the success result. Wait for this to come. If it turns red, that means something is not good. Might be the path is not good. Might be you mistakenly not given R. There would be an error over here. So now if you go here and open this, you will see the data within this. Okay. So in the production, the concept of taking backups, pre-checks, post-checks, all this is done via these 3 lines. This is one method of doing it. There is another method to do it using the with open method. Okay, it's a bit different, but ultimately the goal is same. You go with open, define it as text 1, 2, 3, whatever. Then define text 1, 2, 3, write what data you want to write. Let's say this is network automation. Let me create another file for this so that we would have 2 files at the same time. And we don't need to have the close button, unlike what we did here on the first method. That is only the change over on this condition. Over on the first method, you have to use 3 lines. You have to close it manually. Whereas in the second method, it will close it automatically. Okay. So if I run this, see, it's a exit code 0. I will have 2 files now. The first file will have 2 data now. See, now it started printing on the same line. That is because we didn't add a /n here. If we start adding /n, see, I told you the data will start appending, right? So they start getting added on the existing data. So what I would do is I want to take them in a line by line order. Let me create this. I want to take this in line by line order because I'm going with the appending nature, and same goes over here. So I can just add / over here. So they don't get appended on the same line. Instead, they append in the next line so that it's user friendly to read. See, this is automation. This is network automation. So 2 files using 2 methods. Ultimately, they're doing the same. It's your choice what you want. So if you see this, don't get confused why in the class this was taught, not this. But ultimately, it is the same thing. So I might use this, I might use this. Okay.
Can you explain as the as text 123? Why did we use that?
Text 1, 2. This is how this is written. It is a short code of the entire process. So that in the second line, you see, you don't have to use the lengthier part. You just can use it as a short code.
Okay, I'm not able to see your screen.
You're not able to see?
I can see the screen.
You're not able to see my screen?
It just disappeared. I can
see the screen.
I
Sorry?
see it in the.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Manisha, can you try
Probably
to
okay, got it.
join again?
Yes, I just had, I went under view options and side by side mode. I was able to see it. Thank you. But I see that here as text 123, and I was just wondering what was it? You said it is just written like that, but I'm still wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not Sagar something like something we are giving a short form like for the whole part?
Yeah. See, otherwise what would happen is in the next line, I would have to use the entire characters. Correct?
Oh, okay. Understood.
In a sense, you can see it as a variable, right?
Yes. So what I did is I just created a short name for it called as text 123. It can be anything. You can keep XY123. You can keep XYZ123. In that case, you have to use that short name over here. It's basically the lengthier part.
Okay, so when you executed the second or option, why did it add a second line to the first file? Is it because it is executing the entire script?
Which one? Come again?
So when you execute this, it basically added, this is automation class in the first file, which was 1.1.1.text, right? It added another line to it. And is it because it executed everything all together, right? Line by line. That is the reason why it added another line.
Yeah, see, that is why I put them in two formats. This is one format of using. This is the second format.
Okay. I understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here in the second line, we are writing the data on that file. Whereas here, the second line itself is writing the data. We just are using the short name to integrate. See, here what we did is we used the variable and we kept it here to associate it with the write function. Whereas here, we don't assign it to variable. Instead, we call a short name, and that short name we associated the write function.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Okay. And one more change to be seen is we are explicitly closing this. We are defining this as close, whereas here we don't close it. The second format will automatically close the file, whatever it created. Okay, so these are two patterns. We can use any pattern in the automation script. So wherever I want to take something, let's say I recall this method, I use this, or if I recall this, then I can use this. Okay, but yes, some people, what they do, they might go with the first format, but they might forget to remove this. It will not make a mess at the same time, but there are certain chances when not closing of the file can be also a problem. Might be if you have some more content to be copy pasted on this file, or if you're trying to delete or something, and if the file is still open, then you will get an error that file is open and your script can get terminated. So this is the pattern to write the first method, 3 lines, whereas this is the pattern to write the second format or second pattern.
Sagar, usually I had an issue with one of, I wanted to fetch some file from my inventory and write it to an Excel. Okay, I almost wandered in Google and it almost got done in 1 week almost. So it takes a lot of time to figure out what modules to use. So the thing is the overwriting part, right? See, now consider you have 2.2, right? Now I have to I have same model. Consider I am using some 3750 Cisco switch, right? In that case, the name I had to pull that, take the backup one to one file and pull it into another to fetch out that whatever is like version, serial number, and all those information. So how do we handle that?
You can create 2 blocks of this then. So for example, 1 block for your backup purpose and second block for your information from show output, or 2 open methods you can use it.
2 open methods. Okay, but that should be part of the same script, right?
Yes. Say for example, this is one script here. I'm running SSH on this. So I will run one open method to take the backup. And the second open method, I will use it to take only and they will be part of the for loop itself. So once the device is SSH'd, it will go through this 2 open method process, like how it did right now. I created 2 files from the single run itself.
Okay.
Let's say this is the backup of this, whereas this is the selected show output for 1.1.1. If you think in this way.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Now we'll do one last, and might be we can take a break, or if you're exhausted, we can wrap up for today. Okay. Input function. Now, this is also used by user need. We would like to have user to decide whether he wants to proceed with the script. He wants to put the break on the script. For various purposes, we can use the input function. This is considered as the input, whereas print is considered as output. Okay, this is an input here. This is where you give the live input. Now you can think it from, let's say, you don't want to store username and password inside your script. You want it to be prompted. So you can go and define it this way. You can say input, enter the username. And accordingly for password, you can say input, enter the password. Okay. So on. You can also, let's say you are supposed to put the IP address. Let's say you are preparing a script for 10 devices and you would like to put some interactive, these are like interactive parts. You can say that, let's say config push input, and you can define enter the config or enter the logging server to be configured. So what happens in reality is when you execute the script, it will prompt you. Okay, you get the prompt. So you'll say user is admin. Now what happens as soon as the user typed admin, it will go and store in this variable called username. When it's prompting the next one, enter the password, you type Cisco, it will go and store in this variable. Then now it's collecting the third one, which says that enter the logging server to be configured. Let's say I want to configure this. Enter. Now it will go and configure, it will go and store in this. So the benefit is later, let's say I'm writing my lines of code here and I want to bring that information. Might be now I'm configuring my CLI, let's say XYZ equals to send config, some block I'm using, and I've prepared already the command line. And I put a concatenation of this pattern. So what actually is happening, I got the input from the user. They are stored accordingly on its own respective variable. Wherever I call that variable, then it makes sense. So here, could be the command that I want to push it on the device. So I got the input. Input was entered as 10.10.10, which result in a appropriate CLI, and we are pushing that command, and which is getting configured on the backend devices. Okay, so these are input calls we define on a real time. Sometime uh, management says that don't store the credential, you need to enter it. Yeah, well, fine, you can come up with this solution. Sometimes there are situations like, do you want to reboot? Yes or no. Do you want to clear the OSPF process? Yes or no. Do you want to exit without saving? Yes or no. Let's say what logging server you want to configure, what BGP router ID do you, so you can go it like interactive check. I have also prepared one script previously for IPsec tunneling VPN site to site, where there were a lot of input, because see, the VPN consists of multiple factors, the negotiation and all algorithms, etc. So let's assume that the script will prompt us one after one. So we need to have at least 10, 20 such input calls in the VPN condition. It will ask me for, I can automate. I doesn't say that we cannot make it like we put something at it, fetch automate. It will do it. But for someone, this could also be the requirement. Okay, because if algorithms changes depending upon what the remote engineer has configured. So he give us something which is on our paper. Now I can check that and I can fill one after one algorithm. Okay, this is one. Encryption, this is the one. The PSK key is this one. Lifetime, it's easy sometimes if it is more interactive, right? So you can make your script interactive by going with the input method. So you got it? So let's say if this is a live scenario, you can see somewhere over here. This is the scenario where the diff check was done, and it is asking whether I want to proceed with the configuration or no. So if I say yes, then it will proceed with the configuration at the same time. If I say no, then it will say that user declined it. Why would the user decline? Because that could be his business hour, production hour, and we don't want to make any changes. So we can decide or see another input. Once it is configured, I know this is not the right time, or whatever I configured that has a mistake. It is not the right IP. So there is a rollback option. So yes or no. So user will say yes, roll back. Then whatever you configured will go back. Okay. So these are some interactive. So any doubt over here?
Sagar, I used raw input while taking backup in Telnet. What does that mean?
That is Python 2.
Older version.
Okay. Yes, in older version, the same input was called as raw input. Now the same thing in 3.x is input function.
Okay.
Okay. That is only the change here.
Also, people suggest that always go for a lower, the previous release than the latest one, so that it doesn't cause any issues. What do they deploy in production actually? Like how is it?
No, Python 2 is end of life. You are not supposed to write anything. There will be no support on this. Yeah, people say go one step low or two steps too low, but on the existing trial itself, or the existing train itself, let's say if it is 3.9 running, so it is suggested to go with 3.6, 3.7 or 3.8, but not in a different train. The train matters here in technology. Okay. Same goes with your, even in Cisco iOS or whatever upgrade you're doing. Let's say you are running on 11.x series, but the TAC is recommending you to go to 15.x. So here you have an option to take either 15.6 or 15.5 or 15.3, whatever your company has a standard. But doesn't mean that you should go with 14 or 13, because they're completely in a different train, and it's a older version too. When you have a newer version, the specific train matters. Okay.
Okay, so because while trying some writing some scripts, I see some libraries don't support the latest, and I had to roll back to the previous version sometimes.
No, actually, it is vice versa process. There are only one or two library who have not upgraded themselves to the Python 3 or upgraded version. That is why we are unable to use it. Otherwise, most of the library now are adopting this only. They will not work with the Python 2. And also in terms of features, there is a big difference between 2 and 3. The 2 was specialized for ASCII character. That means for only English character, which are 1 byte long. Whereas 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, and all the latest version are based on Unicode, which are for 2 byte, 3 byte, 4 byte. And also that means the fonts like Chinese, Hebrew, the WhatsApp emojis, which are 4 byte characters. So there's a significant difference also in terms of usage. And also there are some more changes that we see here, which we don't see on the Python 2.
Okay. And another question, do we need to learn more on OOPS concept for, for getting into REST API and all these things?
No, we don't need it. REST API is completely different, and OOPS is a completely different. When someone is more into developing a program, developing a library, they are more interested in the blocks development. Okay. But we are depending on the library which are already present in the marketplace. So we are just leveraging the other works to build our script.
Correct. Okay. Fine. Thanks.
The data types. Okay. So so here in automation, we will deal with the single piece of data, or we would need multiple data. So single data in the sense like storing of username, password, port number. Whereas multiple data is when, let's say you have 10 network devices. Okay. You have 10 network devices and you want to automate them. So I can say that bulk scenario. You have 10 devices, you have 10 CLI commands to fetch, you have 10 CLI commands to configure. Or let's say you have 10 data with you, whatever you consider. So it's basically single data and multiple data. So to handle single data, again, depending upon what data it is, it's a text or it's numbers. We have two of them, string and numbers. So strings are represented with the help of double inverted comma. I can say automation. So now this is a single piece of data. So let me store it somewhere here. Let's say XYZ equals to automation. So now this is a single piece of data. I cannot add something else. I cannot do this. Okay, this is an error. This is not the right way of defining multiple data in this representation. This is wrong. So your single data is only represented like this. There is nothing but this. Now let's say the data was not a character, but it was a number like this. So you will define it in this way, the numbers or the integers. Okay. So basically integers are nothing but the non-decimal patterns. Let's say something This is an integer, whereas a decimal would be called as float. Okay, a different flavor. But again, we don't see float or complex in the numbers. We only see a whole number, which is an integer example. So this is something for numbers, and this is something for string as a data. Now, even in the numbers, I cannot store. Let's say I had multiple numbers to store. I cannot make use of numbers to do them. This would be a violation in the program. I can just keep it assigned as a single data. To handle multiple data, like multiple device or bulk in nature, I have four of them, four different types. One, I would call it as list. The second one would be dictionary, tuples, and set. In the case of automation, network automation, these are the two which are highly used. Tuples rarely used by the developers while making the program or library. Set is not at all used in the network automation. This is widely used in the case of data science to remove the duplicate entries. Okay. So now, why four of them? Why not only one? Why not only two? What is the difference between them? What are the parameters that makes them different from each other? Okay. So there is something called properties here. You need to understand the properties. If you understand the properties, then rest of them is easy for you to grasp. So let's say I make the four columns. The four properties here would be, are they indexable? Is duplicate allowed? Are they ordered in nature? And what else? Index, duplicate, ordered. Can they be accessible, or can they be changeable in nature? Okay, modification basically. So these are some properties which makes them different. So in the case of list, you can index it. Okay. Dictionary, you can index, but the help of key value. Whereas in tuples is also indexable.
Sorry, Saga, when you say index, what do you mean?
Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll give you an example. Whereas set is no. Okay, so now what is indexable in that case? Let's say I have multiple data with me in the list format. I say this as automation. I say this is Python. I say this as CCI. Okay. Now, if I try to take the data, I don't want all the data. Let's say I want the data which is located at this index. So I can say X and I can input the index. And if I print this, see, I get that data. So how is index works in Python? Index starts with 0, not a mathematical things like 1 or something. It's not 1, 2, 3. It would be 0, 1, 2. Okay, so index starts with 0, 1, and 2. So basically, index are nothing but placeholder. So where is CCI located as a Python's way to understand? It's located at the placeholder 2. I said I want to extract that data which is located at index 2, which is nothing but CCI. So if I say I want to execute something which is placed at index 1, so we know what it would fetch. Okay. Why index is needed? I can do some more selections. I mean, I can do the slicing. Let's say I had few more data here. I type CCNP, I type cyber security. So I know what index these are. 1, 2, 3, 4. But let's assume that the program that I'm running has nothing to do with automation or cybersecurity. I am interested in this three. So I can slice them. I can say that I don't want anything from 0 and I don't need the last one. Okay, so I can say -1. So here what happens is these are not indexed. Don't get confused. These are not indexed. I'm making use of slicing concept. So what happens is in the slicing, it's starting with this order: 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's say 5. Whereas the -1, how did I get that -1? Let me tell you, it's from the right hand side. -1, -2, -3, -4. And yes, sorry, I did one mistake. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, as per the indexing thing. So when I say 1 colon -1, that means I want to start from this, from the left hand side. When I say -1, I would say that I want to ignore this and then consider the rest. So the left hand side is include and consider the rest. You can take it that way. Whereas right hand side is exclude that and consider the rest. Okay, that is the difference between right and left. So left is include, so which is nothing but include this. Whereas right is exclude this and consider the rest. So we would result printing this 3 as our data. Let's see them. Let's say I run this. See, it's included from here because of that left hand side of indexing. And similar way, I said -1, that means exclude the final one and count the rest of the things. Okay, this is just an example. We will use the slicing method for other various things also. Let's say I get a host name which has basically some sort of unwanted characters, and I want to get rid of this. So this is what going to help me. I will say that print host name, count it from the start, but the last one I don't want. I want to exclude them. So see, in that case, what happens is okay, I have not put them in a proper method. So now see what happens is what happened? I removed that last character because this is something which I might put in the backup title, or I might keep in a Excel audit report. So I don't want that unwanted things on the Excel, right? So I can take it out. So here is something where the indexing helps. So if you come back to the theory, what are indexable? List can be indexed, dictionary can be indexed in terms of key, tuples are indexable, but set is not indexable. When I say key, that means dictionary has its own pattern of writing. So if you want to write a dictionary, you have to make use of key value pattern. Let's say device information. This is a variable. I'm writing, I have to give the data in the dictionary representation. So this is a dictionary which is represented in the curly bracket. I can say the username of this is admin, comma. The IP address of this device is 1.1.1.1, comma. Port number is 22. So now the right hand side is value, which is nothing but data, and left hand side is key. So that is why I have put key over here. You can index using key pattern. If let's say you want to fetch the output of the index, which is key this. So let's see what it fetch me. See, it is fetching me this. But can I do in another way? Can I do a vice versa way? See, it will say that that key is not defined. So that is why I have mentioned it as key. That means you can fetch it via key value from the key perspective, not from the value. Okay. The dictionary has a different pattern. I also show you the different patterns once we complete this, how list is represented in what type of bracket. So list, you know that it's represented in the square bracket, whereas the dictionary are represented in a curly format. Okay. So any doubt so far?
So Sagar, the changeable is nothing but immutable and mutable, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that is what they commonly ask. Right? Okay.
Yes. Okay. In case of tuples and set, what happens? Let me show you. We did dictionary, but why I'm focusing list and dictionary? Because they are highly used in networking. The tuples, as I told you, is not the favorite in the network side, and set is also not a favorite here. But I'll just give you one example. Let's say I have a tuple as a data. I make use of parenthesis and I keep like CCI, CCNP, and let's say automation, cybersecurity. These are my different data. And I have to fetch and try to see are they indexable or not. So I'll try to put a placeholder. Okay, 5, I don't think there is anything. So let's put a lower number. So 2 is basically 0, 1, 2. Automation should be fetched. See. So these are indexable. Tuples are also indexable. That is why I have kept it yes for tuples. But I say set is not. So in that case, how do we prove it? It's non-indexable. We can put the data in a set format. So set will have this notations, okay? The curly brackets. And if you, let's say, call it as a set as variable, just to match with our data example, and you try to fetch the index 2, which in the tuple fetched us, will the set fetches for us? Set will not. Okay. Set will not fetch us. That is why I have given a big no in front of set. So indexable, as you know, it's like a placeholder you want to access, or if you want to fetch something, you can later on use this concept for slicing between this bits to this bit. So depending upon that, list will have yes to indexable, dictionary is yes, depending on key, tuple is yes, but set is no. Now coming to duplicate, as the name says, can this data be duplicate in these various types? So let's say dictionary, let's say list, and I keep the list representation, which is nothing but the square bracket. I say this is list. Okay, now regards to duplicate, let me try to duplicate the data entry. Let's say, can I have two same data and I can try to fetch them. So if I run this, see, you have that duplicate data at the output, right? So what happens is duplicate is allowed over here. It is yes from list side. But from dictionary side, it's a no. Again, from key perspective. Let's try that. If I put a dictionary, you know the pattern is a bit different. So I go with the curly bracket. I say that username is admin, password is Cisco, and I try one more time username as admin, or let's say I keep it as Kim or something. See, now you started getting some indicators. The indicator started working. It says that dictionary contains duplicate key username. And what happens when you trigger it? See, when you trigger it, that duplicate is removed. Okay. So dictionary will not accept any duplicate.
So
and whatever
yeah, this is more like a JSON or YAML data format, right?
See, JSON is very close represented. If it was a JSON, there would have been a square bracket over here. Something like this. It is bit very closely to JSON format only. Okay, but in JSON, there would be a square bracket in addition, whereas in dictionary, there will be no square bracket.
And in YAML also, there is no bracket, right?
YAML has lot of difference in terms of format writing.
Okay.
Yes, if you see YAML to JSON converters, YAML has a complete different format when compared to. Let me show you one of other two. Let's say. See here, this is YAML. Okay. Whereas this is JSON. JSON is very much similar to dictionary. But what makes JSON different from dictionary is these JSON will use a square bracket. Whereas in dictionary, we cannot use a square bracket. Otherwise, it's also a key value pair mapping like dictionary. Whereas YAML has a complete different format. It's in a list method, and we have elements and we have the data kept in a list pattern. Okay, we don't use a curly bracket or a square bracket in YAML.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, no issue. So you understood, I hope, this dictionary from the property duplicate is understandable. You cannot let two duplicate keys have inside them. But what about if it was from value perspective? Let's say you have a different key, but you have a same data. It doesn't matter, okay? Dictionary is okay with that. Dictionary will consider all three for you. The only problem it creates is when you have from the key perspective. So that is why I have put it from key perspective, it is no, because data we are not bothered. Data can be anything in the case of dictionary. From key perspective, you cannot let it. Whereas in tuples, let's give it a try. So let's say I have a tuple 1, 2, 3. I keep the parenthesis CCI, CCNP, CCI. And let's say I take a print of it. See, this will let you to have the duplicate. So yes to duplicate from the tuple side. What about the dictionary? Dictionary is a big time no. Set. Set is a big time no. So if I put this, duplicate it will allow. Set will allow duplicate, okay? So see, you can see here that duplicate is allowed in this. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I have to change this character. Duplicate will be removed in the set. My bad. I got it. See here. That is the main reason why set is used. I'll tell you one use scenario. If you heard about this data science or data analyst job, basically they get the data in millions, okay, where they have to do the survey analysis, they have to see the trend, they have to calculate the percentage. So the first job that they do is they convert the data which they might have received in the data format into list back to list to set, then set to list, just because set will remove the duplicate and give them back only the unique data. That is the one reason why set is used heavily in data science or data analyst data careers. Okay, because of this reason, it will take out the duplicates automatically. If you had, let's say, 1 lakh of data, even if you use Excel or any sort of things to remove them, you might have to do data sort out, filters, etc., etc. But if you make use of Python program, let's say your data is in a notepad, you just go with the open function, read it, you have it in the list format and convert into set, back to list. Your data, whichever are duplicate, are removed and you get the unique copy of the data. So I would say that duplicate is a big no for set. In terms of ordered, now since they are indexable, then order is very closely related. Order in the sense, when you execute it, do you execute them in an indexable basis? Like the first index hits the first, the second hits the second, third, or it's in a random order. The first hits at the end, the center, the third most hits the first. That depends on indexable. For an example, let's say I have a list 1, 2, 3, and let's say I want to fetch them. So I call it as for x in. So don't go with for representation. I've not covered it. I'm just trying to show you what does that mean. Okay, when I say ordered. So if you execute this, okay, let me keep the representation to list. So they follow an indexable order. Okay. So you have you can predict what the output is. Let's consider from a device perspective. You have 3 devices, 1.1, 1 dot so and so, 2.2.2, 3.3.2. Let's say you're taking a SSH of it. So let's say SSH of, you know what is first getting SSH'd, what would be second, what would be third. There is no surprise at the end that second got executed first. So it's a big time ordered. Lists are ordered. Whereas dictionary is also following a ordered scenario. Let's say dictionary 1, 2, 3. You have it, the different parameters, username, admin, IP as 1.1.1, password, Cisco. And let's assume you want to fetch it or something. See. So however you have defined in terms of key, they follow certain order to receive. So I can say yes in terms of key here. What about tuples? Tuples also, as I told you, they are indexable. So we should expect the same behavior. I'll say this is tuple. Let me gray out this for now so that I don't have to write it. So tuples 1, 2, 3. Let's keep the 3 data. And I execute this. See, they also follow. Let's say if I run a second time, I run a third time, I run fourth time, they follow a certain index. Let me say in case of set now, which are a big no for index, what would be the scenario in this case?
Random, right?
Yes. See now. Now you got something which is coming out in a random fashion. If you take it for the second time, see, it changed its sequence. You go to the third time, it again changed its sequence. See, so these are like non-predictable format. You never know which format would be generated. So from that perspective, this is the third property that we discuss. Yes, and these are no. From the changeable perspective, can I change them, mutable or immutable? Once the list is formed, can I change them? Let's say I have list 1, 2, 3. I change this to list method. I say that new list equals to, let's say I want to change something, okay, at index of 2. I decided it's not 3.3 device, it's 10.10.10 device. The IP of that is this. And if I take the final new report now, new report for list 1, 2, 3, see what has happened. Your original list is got modified with the new data. Now this is the new data. Now you can call the list 1, 2, 3 in the respective next lines, and you can say this is what you need to consider. So it's a changeable, it's mutable. You can also, let's say, mutable, immutable property. So this is a big yes from this. Dictionary do the same thing. You can change it from the key perspective. So let's say this is a dictionary. See, this is why I kept a dictionary prepared beforehand. Let me put the code here. Okay, so let's say I bring up this now for dictionary, for example. I want to change this key with something else, let's say 5.5.5, and I print it. I say I want to check the new dictionary value now. See, now what is the new dictionary consisting of? It is consisting of the new data. But is it possible to make the change basis on the key now? Oh, sorry, value. That is not possible. Okay. Let's say I have the value and I would like to change it from username to something else. Let's say user 1, 2, 3. A vice versa scenario. See, it will say that it's an invalid syntax. You can change it, but from the key perspective. Okay. So you will say password is not Cisco, password is Junos.
Hey, Sagar, I think you have missed one first of it. I think on pass, right? So,
okay. All right. Here you mean to say, right?
yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I'll once again do that to show that's not doable via the data. See, now this is from the key perspective, so we were able to change. Let's say if I would do it from the value perspective. So this is the value, and I would like to change pass to password. See, now what it considered is, it didn't consider this as something what I wanted to change, but it considered I'm trying to add a new key with the new data. That is why you see user, you see IP, you see password, and you see the new thing. It thought that it's adding up a new thing, not I'm trying to do it a change from the value perspective. So it's changeable, but it's from the key perspective. Okay. Let's see tuples. So tuple is parenthesis. Okay, so I say that I want to change tuple this data to this data, and I will take the final report. See, now this is a problem. Tuples, once they are formed, we cannot change them. Okay, it says that it's don't support the assignment operator. It says that I cannot change anything. So it's a big no for tuples here. And in the case of set, it's non-doable because they are non-indexable. And until they are indexable, you cannot think about changing them because you never know what get executed. So how would you index them? You cannot know what is 2 because every attempt, the 2 can change to this, or to this. So these are also non-changeable. See, does not support. So this is also a big no. So this is something which is asked in your basic Python interviews and all those things. Okay, what is the property? And maybe they can ask you to put something and tell your understanding so that they understand how much understanding level you keep it. Because this someone can mug up also. Yes, no, yes, no. But when they ask you to explain, then you need to know how do you explain.
Also, strings are immutable, right?
Strings are they are mutable because they are changeable. You can change them with respective to the
Because
index.
someone asked me in the interview, I was not able to answer that time. Maybe I was wrong or something. So
Okay. See, string, what happens in string is there is a workaround to change them. You will convert into list and then using list index method, you can change it.
that
Otherwise,
is
what happens? The data
as
itself get replaced.
correct. Like the raw data, raw string, like how is it mutable or immutable? That was the
Raw
question
data,
actually.
yeah, raw data you cannot change. You
It's
can change it
immutable.
only with slicing. You can change it.
Okay.
Okay, say for example, if I have only automation, so if I say set see, this you cannot change it.
Okay. Yeah, it must be some error, a type error.
Yeah, it will say that it will not support. But if you convert this data,
To list, yeah.
you say that it's set 1, 2, 3. You convert into split lines. I'll tell you what basically the split line would do. And let's say you take a new format over here. And if you take the print of it, see now this is a list, but you can also format it in terms of uh, what you say, in terms of individual characters also.
Yeah, split, I think, split method. Means each character is going to be separate, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah, that
splits
also
out
you
and
can.
yeah, but that
Yeah,
is
see,
I
yeah, this
understood.
is also one scenario.
Correct.
Okay, but otherwise it's not changeable.
Okay. Understood. So these are the main data types, right? So like usually we use in network automation only this. We handle mostly list and dictionaries. No,
Yeah, list
nothing.
and dictionary, we use it. We have many more data type, but again, not something like bytes we have,
Okay.
which is a machine understanding language. We have Boolean, which is true or false scenario, which we use it. Okay, so there are certain more, but this is something which is from network automation point of view.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Understood. So Sagar, just one thing. Are we covering that network topology creation script as well in this?
I will show this. Okay, network
Okay.
automation.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so guys, quick because we will wind up now. So I'll just tell you now, like for example, regards to the welcome kit, which might be most of you might have received, but someone who joined today, this morning, or last night, you may not have received. Just wait for some more time. So usually what we do is in that common WhatsApp group, we have given some Google form. Once you fill that Google form, our backend will start processing your access, and they will send a welcome kit email. So that kit email will have access to your learning portal, which is where the class recording and the notes or the Google Drive links would be put up. You will also be given a remote lab access, and then there would be some support DL. So in case you're facing any issue, you can write an email and our backend will help you over a remote sharing desktop or whatever, whatsoever. Okay. So these are three important things. So our learning portal is located at this URL, learn.networkjourney. So here is where the class recording will come and sit automatically. The remote lab is over here, rack.network network journey. Okay. And support DL is on support@networkjourney.com. Those guys who have at least a 16 plus GB of RAM on your machine with 4 CPU core, you can check the task manager of your laptop. If you have this minimum configuration, then you can also go with the home lab setup. Okay. Usually you get a 3-month access here, 3-month unlimited access over on the remote lab. But let's say after 3 months also, some people might need it for practicing. So home lab is the best solution in that case, but minimum 16 GB is required. With 8 GB, you can open up 1 or 2 Cisco routers, but not Palo Alto, F5 or the other vendors, which will need 6 to 8 GB for running one instance. And for now, on the remote lab, there are Cisco vendor, Junos, Arista, routers, switches, etc. You will find it. In case you need Palo Alto or FortiGate or F5, okay, or any other vendors, which is doable on the virtual. So you can send an email over on the step number 3 and ask them to put this. So they will deploy it to your account.
Okay. So Sagar, I need F5 and Palo because I have a lot of work on that to get off.
Yes. So yeah, you do write an email with your username. Might be there is a username mentioned like NJXXXX, whatever. So write an email to that saying this is my user ID. I need Palo Alto and this one. So they will provision that in your account.
Okay. Okay. And I can start the labs right away, right? Like how can you show
Yes.
that once?
Yes, I will show you. So first I'll show you the learning portal. You go to learn.networkjourney.com. This is the dashboard. There is a login button. Click on the login button, login. Once you log in it successfully, there would be a tab over here which says My Course. Okay, somewhere here.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you will see something like My Course. Some people do a mistake of that they log in and they start scrolling this and they say that it's asking us to pay. Where is my course? But they actually mistake to not look at the top banner. So there would be something like My Course or Course which you click. Once you click that, then you will get into your signed up course and there will be the logo of that and you basically will have the access to that and it's a lifetime accessible. So within that drive, I mean, once you are into that, let me also show you in the backend what all things you would have access to.
Also, so Sagar, like this will be the recordings will be updated or it will be like the only our sessions? Like how is it? Like consider
it's basically live classes which will get recorded and come into this.
Right. I mean, like consider after 6 months, it's some new module you might have added, right? In that case.
That is a rare scenario, but if it is, then I will add into all the accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And also much more details. I mean, there is a recorded session, especially for the data types and some of the theory. So if you have some time, you can go through those 6 to 7 hours. But however, we are done in the live class as well, but this will have some more information. So you can once have a quick check on those recordings. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is my access to the previous class, not for the present. So that don't get confused where this many classes came from. This is a last old batch. So in your web portal as well, you will have something called class 0. And within that class 0, you will see the home lab files, access to something called workbook, the links to download the required tools like PyCharm and the VM workstation. And if you go to, let's say, the home lab file, this is a complete ready-made file, which is close to 5 GB. If you know how to import this over file to your VM workstation, you can do it, load it up. All the images are within this, and you have access to your front-end panel. You can start integrating PyCharm and you can start writing on your home lab. But for some reason you have a problem, then you have that step number 3. Write an email with your Ultra Viewer or remote desk or Zoom, whatever you have. Just provide the access. Mention the time that this to this time you would be available, so that one of the backend can go ahead and join you there, okay, and help you to deploy it.
So Sagar, that OVA is GNS3. I mean, like integrated
This
with
is
GNS3.
This is a EVNG one.
Okay.
Not specially EVNG. This would be we are using something called PNet labs, which are much stable actually.
Okay.
Okay, you have to download from here.
Okay.
So once you download, once you have basically you don't download anything because this is having everything. You just import it to the workstation which is given in the email.
Okay.
So in a welcome kit email, there is a download link for workstation along with some serial key. You can use that, or you have your company VM workstation or VM player. You can use that as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi, sir.
Yes, hi. Go ahead.
So I'm accessing the
Sorry, I could not hear you. Come again.
I'm accessing the rack. I've just logged in, and I'm trying. It seems like it's the GNS3.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. That is the step number 2. Okay. Right now we are in the step number 1. I'm showing you the learn portal now, class 0. And regarding the workbook in the sense it's not the script that I'm telling. It's about the notes. So whatever things that we discussed today, the theory or whatever, you can find it on these PDF. Okay, there's a brief on each and everything which you can read it. And see, this is the lab which we would be giving you, GNS or PNet or EVNG, whatever. And this will also have some theory notes. So print that we discussed. There are certain exercises, small examples, Python comments, Python variable, Python open, Python data types. Okay, these are something for you to read. And along with this, we have the materials for the from the future classes like the API collections. Then there is also notes for Devnet notes. Okay, close to 100 pages. So this is about your Google Drive. And the scripts that I will be discussing in the class, I will not put it separately because that will be a problem for you to every time refer. Instead, I'll make it more simple by giving them below the class videos itself. So let's say after your class video, whenever you go and watch them, you will have the notes or you will have that workbook attached to that. See, for example, these are downloadable. You will just click on that, it downloads, and you can open up. It's just in basic text format. See, this is how the code will be. Okay, for the explanation, you will of course refer the video You will be, of course, going through the live classes. You will have the recording kept here. So you will have the explanation line by line, how it's written, what it is basically getting it done. And a script, while you are practicing, you cannot refer the video. You cannot stop at third second, fourth second. That's very difficult to do. So you have a script with you. So you try to write first two scripts, might be just a copy paste, but later on you start trying to write it yourself without referring back to the scripts. Okay, that's how you practice. Okay, now coming to the second module, which is the rack.network journey. Click on the advanced, go to this. Let's say if I take one of the login from student. Okay, so whatever is the user provided to you, log in with that. Okay, now second password is the same password which you entered in the last prompt. And you get this. So let's say if this was closed for some reason, you should find the GNS logo. You click on that. There is a project under recent project. Open it up. And there you go. If you want to increase the font of that, you can click on fit in view. There is something called zoom in. Okay, but you don't need, I mean, it's very clear, so you don't need a zoom in or zoom out. Just click on fit on view and it's visible. To power on the device, right click on them, start them. See, like right click, start, right click, start. And to open the console, you double click on them. So this is the console of those. Okay. So in the next class, I will tell you what to configure. Well, there are management IPs here, but I'll show you in the next class how do you configure them. And regarding the tools, we already have kept the PyCharm tool. Okay, that's not visible because I think they have disabled the menu option. So what I will do is I'll let the backend know that they have not kept the PyCharm on the desktop so that it's easier for you to access it. Okay, that I'll do it in some time.
So, Sagar, are we like in Devnet, they have given, I mean, I'm using a guide actually. So in that they are given integrating with ACI and ICE. Are we not covering it? Like
which one?
ICE and ACI.
Where have you seen? It's not ICE, and this one is not in the Devnet syllabus.
I mean, they have given like, yeah, it may be part of here. I have the guide actually referring. So they have mentioned maybe it's API probably, right? API to
okay, yeah, API, right? So yeah, in API they have actually SD-WAN, Meraki, and ACI. Okay, might be you're looking at this CCNP security automation topic where
no,
it
no,
has
no. Devnet Associate CCNA 200-901. So I have that book official guide. So in that I have mentioned that.
See,
so
the
collaboration platforms and APIs.
yeah, collapse and all is there. See, this is the blueprint.
Okay.
So if you go to blueprint and look for the topic, so there are topics from API point of view, not from the technology point of view.
Technology point of view. Okay.
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 So this is see. So these are from the API perspective.
Okay. So this this we are covering, right? Like API stands.
Yeah. This I will show you. So this is for this. This is for collab. Okay. So similar way. Yes, I think you are looking at this point.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it is from the API perspective.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So I hope that rack.network journey is also clear, right? You know how to power on, and PyCharm is missing. I'll get that done. So you will have that PyCharm.
Okay, Sagar. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm done from my side. We'll connect tomorrow now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.